In 2025, Burkina Faso unveils something extraordinary, a bold statement of vision, resilience, and national pride. At the heart of this transformation lies a city that now carries the name of its revolutionary leader, Ibrahim Traoré City, *4. Decades, Burkina Faso, a landlocked country in West Africa, struggled under the weight of poverty, political instability, and external pressures. But the story began to change in late 2022 when a young captain of the army, Ibrahim Traoré, led a popular coup, promising security, sovereignty, and development. His rise sparked controversy abroad but hope and unity at home. Over the next few years, Traoré pushed an ambitious agenda of anti-imperialism, economic independence, and African self-determination. And now, that vision has materialized in a stunning way through the city that now bears his name, * in the Ouagadougou metropolitan area, where dusty roads and crumbling buildings once dominated the skyline. Ibrahim Traoré City now stands as a living symbol of what Burkina Faso can achieve. It's more than just a renaming. It's a full redesign and reconstruction of a key urban area, turning it into a modern, green, self-sustaining city, unlike anything the nation has seen before. The streets of Ibrahim Traoré City are lined with wide boulevards shaded with indigenous trees. Solar-powered streetlights illuminate the city at night, and clean, renewable energy powers homes, schools, hospitals, and businesses. Local engineers worked hand-in-hand with international partners from other African nations and sympathetic allies, ensuring that the city was built with African expertise at its core. Markets bustle with traders selling local produce and artisanal crafts. Women, who are at the forefront of the resistance against foreign exploitation, have pride of place here. New policies have enabled women to own businesses, run cooperatives, and participate in governance at all levels. Education was one of the key priorities of Ibrahim Traoré's plan. In the center of the city stands the Ibrahim Traoré University of Sovereignty and Development, an institute dedicated to training the next generation of African leaders in agriculture, technology, and governance, all through the lens of self-reliance and anti-colonial thought. Healthcare has seen a major upgrade as well. The city hosts one of West Africa's most advanced hospitals, offering free or subsidized care to citizens, equipped with modern facilities, and staffed by doctors trained both at home and abroad. Maternal mortality, which had plagued Burkina Faso for years, has sharply declined thanks to these initiatives. In the evening, the city comes alive with music and culture. The Ibrahim Traoré Cultural Center stages plays, concerts, and exhibitions celebrating the country's rich history, from Thomas Sankara to contemporary artists. Murals painted on city walls tell the story of Burkina Faso's struggles and triumphs, and visitors cannot help but feel the spirit of resistance and pride in the air. Security, a central concern that sparked Traoré's initial rise to power, has also improved in the city and surrounding regions. Community-based defense forces work alongside a reorganized national army to maintain peace while respecting human rights. The sense of safety has allowed commerce and tourism to flourish. Once again, of course, the transformation wasn't without its challenges. Critics abroad accuse the government of authoritarianism and question the economic sustainability of such rapid development. Sanctions and isolation threaten to derail progress, but Ibrahim Traoré struck deals with alternative partners in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, forming new trade links and accessing alternative sources of investment and technology. Citizens of Burkina Faso, however, see the city as proof that self-determination is possible. The name itself, Ibrahim Traoré City, is both a tribute and a declaration. Here, People believe that they are no longer simply victims of history, but authors of their own future. Today, people travel from all over the country and even from neighboring nations to visit the city. They come to see what Burkina Faso has achieved against the odds, to draw inspiration, and to feel that change is possible. For young people especially, Ibrahim Traoré City represents opportunity, the promise of jobs, education, and a dignified life without having to leave for Europe or elsewhere. In 2025, as Burkina Faso continues to redefine itself on the world stage, Ibrahim Traoré City stands as a beacon of hope and a challenge to the notion that African nations must remain dependent or downtrodden. It is a testament to the will of a people and the leadership of a man who dared to dream differently. The story of Ibrahim Traoré City is still being written. Its streets, its buildings, and its people carry the weight of expectations and the possibility of inspiring a continent to rise, one city, one dream, and one nation at a time. In the words of one young resident proudly standing outside the university, "This is not just a city. This is our revolution made concrete. This is the future we were promised, and we built it ourselves." And so, Ibrahim Traoré City shines as the new face of Burkina Faso. In the same year, 2025, while Ibrahim Traoré City captured the world's attention, another chapter of Burkina Faso's transformation was quietly unfolding far from the bustling streets of the capital in the remote Sahelian countryside. This is the story of the Green Wall of Hope. For decades, northern Burkina Faso was synonymous with hardship. The relentless advance of the Sahara Desert, devastating droughts, and armed conflict had driven thousands from their homes and turned once productive farmland into barren dust. Families who had lived off the land for generations watched their crops fail and their livestock die. But under Ibrahim Traoré's leadership and with a renewed spirit of national determination, Burkina Faso launched one of the most ambitious environmental and social projects in its history, restoring life to the north, tree by tree, farm by farm, and village by village. The Green Wall of Hope is part of a broader African Union initiative known as the Great Green Wall, a plan to plant a massive band of trees and vegetation stretching across the entire width of Africa, from Senegal in the west to Djibouti in the east. But Traoré pushed for Burkina Faso to become the project's model, proving that even the harshest conditions can be reversed. In early 2024, teams of volunteers, engineers, farmers, and students began to mobilize. With government support, they fanned out into the Sahel, planting drought-resistant trees, digging water retention basins, and introducing innovative irrigation techniques that combined ancient African knowledge with modern science. Women's cooperatives became the backbone of the effort, earning income by cultivating nurseries and leading planting campaigns. By mid-2025, the results are breathtaking. Satellite images reveal a ribbon of green cutting across what was once empty brown terrain. Villages once abandoned are being repopulated. Farmers are harvesting millet, sorghum, and vegetables again. Children play in shaded courtyards under neem and acacia trees where just a few years earlier only dust swirled in the wind. But this project has done more than restore the land. It has restored dignity and hope to thousands. Young men who once felt compelled to join armed groups out of desperation are now earning a living as foresters, carpenters, and farmers. Women have gained more autonomy, running their own businesses around the Green Wall. The environmental impact is striking too. Groundwater levels have begun to rise. Biodiversity is returning as birds, insects, and small mammals find their way back to the new woodlands. In the rainy season, Floods are less severe because the soil retains more water. One of the most symbolic moments of the project came during the rainy season of 2025, when Ibrahim Traoré himself visited a northern village, shovel in hand, and planted a tree alongside school children. He told them, "These trees are like you. They will grow strong if we take care of them. And together, you and they will protect this land for your children and your children's children." His words echoed throughout the Sahel, inspiring even more people to join the effort. What was once seen as an impossible dream, stopping the desert, now feels within reach. The Green Wall of Hope has even begun to attract visitors and researchers from other African nations and beyond, eager to learn from Burkina Faso's example. Traoré has invited neighboring leaders to see the project firsthand, encouraging them to invest in their own stretches of the wall. For the villagers of the north, this isn't just about trees or crops. It's about belonging, survival, and a chance to build a better life. One elderly farmer summed it up simply when asked what the green wall meant to him. "Before, we only buried our children here. Now we plan our future here." In 2025, while Ibrahim Traoré City symbolizes Burkina Faso's modern face, the Green Wall of Hope embodies its soul, rooted deep in the soil, defying the odds, and growing stronger every day. And so, from the capital to the countryside, a nation once written off as a victim of history continues to rewrite its story, tree by tree, dream by dream, hope by hope. In 2025, as the world marveled at Ibrahim Traoré City and the Green Wall of Hope, yet another story of Burkina Faso's rebirth quietly unfolded, this time on a global stage. This is the story of Burkina Faso's gold sovereignty revolution. For decades, Burkina Faso was known as one of Africa's largest gold producers. Its mines glittered with promise, yet most of the wealth flowed out of the country, filling the coffers of foreign companies while leaving local miners in poverty and communities devastated by environmental damage. Ibrahim Traoré called this the silent plunder and vowed to change it. From the earliest days of his rule, he insisted that Burkina Faso would reclaim its gold for the benefit of its own people. In 2025, this vision finally came to fruition. The first step was bold and controversial. Traoré's government terminated contracts with several major foreign mining firms, accusing them of exploiting unfair agreements signed under previous regimes. Negotiations with other companies imposed new terms. At least 60% of the profits had to stay in the country. Local communities had to receive direct investment, and environmental protections became mandatory. But even more revolutionary was the creation of the National Gold Cooperative. This state-backed initiative brought together thousands of artisanal miners, who for years had dug gold under dangerous and illegal conditions, and formalized their work. The cooperative provided equipment, safety training, and fair prices for the gold they mined. By mid-2025, the results began to shine. Government revenues from gold nearly doubled compared to previous years. These funds were poured back into schools, clinics, and infrastructure. In rural mining towns, new paved roads and clean water systems were being built for the first time. The international community reacted with skepticism and, in some corners, hostility. Some Western governments and investors accused Traoré of resource nationalism and warned of capital flight. But ordinary Burkinab cheered the policy, calling it gold for our people. In the town of Yalgo, where hundreds of artisanal miners now work under the cooperative, the atmosphere is radically different from just a few years ago. Instead of risking their lives in unregulated pits, Miners now wear helmets, gloves, and boots provided by the cooperative. They earn fair wages and receive a share of the profits at the end of each quarter. Women, who often had to work in informal and unsafe gold washing operations, now have their own cooperatives running small refineries and jewelry-making businesses that sell to local and regional markets. The symbolic moment of this revolution came when the first Burkina Gold Reserve Vault opened in Ouagadougou. Inside, bars of pure gold, stamped with Burkina Faso's emblem, are stored as part of a SENDIM, Sovereign Wealth Fund. The fund's purpose: to secure the nation's future, finance development, and protect against economic shocks. In a televised address at the opening of the vault, Ibrahim Traoré declared, "For too long, our gold has been taken from us while our children went hungry. Today we reclaim what is ours. This gold is not just metal, it is our sweat, our soil, our sovereignty." The move inspired similar debates across Africa as people in other resource-rich countries began to question whether they too could renegotiate their own wealth. Burkina Faso became a symbol of resistance to exploitation, showing that even small nations could stand up to powerful interests if united and determined. Critics still warn of challenges ahead: managing the gold wealth wisely, avoiding corruption, and ensuring environmental sustainability remain pressing concerns. But for now, Burkina Faso stands proud as a pioneer of what some call economic decolonization. In the bustling markets of Ibrahim Traoré City, one can now find shops selling jewelry proudly labeled "Made with Burkina Gold." In rural schools, children study under roofs paid for by gold revenues. And in the mining towns, fathers and mothers come home to their families each night, no longer forced to toil in deadly conditions for pennies. As one miner in Yalgo put it, "We used to dig and watch others get rich. Now when I dig, I know it's for my country and for my children's future." In 2025, as Burkina Faso continues to redefine itself, the gold sovereignty revolution stands as yet another chapter in the nation's story, a testament to the belief that a country's wealth belongs to its people and that true independence is built not just on politics but on the ground, in the mines, and in the hands of those who work the land. From the shining streets of the capital to the shimmering gold of the Sahel, Burkina Faso's journey goes on, a nation reclaiming its destiny, one dream, one policy, and one bold step at a time. In 2025, as Burkina Faso amazed the world with its gleaming capital city, its flourishing green wall, and its revolutionary gold sovereignty, yet another chapter of its rebirth quietly took shape, this one written in the hearts and minds of its youngest generation. This is the story of the youth renaissance of Burkina Faso. For decades, the youth of Burkina Faso, like many in Africa, were called the lost generation. In rural areas, children often grew up without schools, while in cities, many were left idle, vulnerable to crime or recruitment into armed groups. Every year, thousands risked their lives to cross deserts and seas, chasing uncertain futures abroad because they believed nothing good could come from staying home. But in 2025, that narrative began to change dramatically. From his earliest speeches, Ibrahim Traoré insisted that the future of the nation lay in its young people. "We cannot build sovereignty if we do not first build our youth," he said at a rally in 2023. His administration poured resources into education, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement, and by 2025, the results began to shine. The transformation started with education. Across the country, hundreds of new schools opened, not just traditional classrooms, but modern technology-enabled learning hubs. Rural villages that had never seen a secondary school now boasted solar-powered facilities, with computers, libraries, and teachers trained in modern pedagogy. Literacy campaigns slashed illiteracy rates dramatically, and for the first time, girls were staying in school at rates equal to boys. Asterisk in Ibrahim Traoré City. The centerpiece of this youth-focused strategy was the National Academy of Innovation and Leadership, a sprawling campus where thousands of young Burkinabés studied technology, agriculture, business, and governance. Its motto, "Learn here, lead everywhere." Asterisk, one of the most inspiring success stories came from a young woman named Aminata. At just 24, she won a national innovation competition for her solar-powered irrigation system, which is now being deployed in farms across the Sahel. Standing on stage at the competition, she told the audience, asterisk, "Before, our parents told us to leave and seek better lives elsewhere. Today I tell my peers, stay and build better lives here." Asterisk, the government also launched a youth entrepreneur fund providing small grants and loans to young people with business ideas. By 2025, thousands of micro-enterprises had sprung up, from tech startups in the capital to cooperatives making eco-friendly bricks in the countryside. Asterisk, the arts, too, flourished. Young musicians, filmmakers, and writers began to tell their own stories, creating a cultural renaissance that celebrated Burkina Faso's heritage while looking boldly to the future. The Ibrahim Traoré Cultural Center hosted weekly showcases of young talent, attracting audiences from across the region. Asterisk, sports were not left behind. The government invested in new facilities, and national teams started to perform better in regional competitions. The streets of Ouagadougou erupted in joy when Burkina Faso's under-21 football team won the West African Championship for the first time in history. Asterisk. Perhaps most importantly, youth participation in civic life reached unprecedented levels. Through local councils, volunteer networks, and national forums, young people had a real say in shaping policies that affected them. No longer silenced or sidelined, they stood at the forefront of the nation's transformation. Asterisk, one of the most symbolic moments came on Youth Day 2025, when Ibrahim Traoré addressed a stadium full of students, workers, and young entrepreneurs. He spoke not as a distant president, but as a fellow son of the land, just a decade older than many of them. Asterisk, you are not the leaders of tomorrow, you are the builders of today. This country is yours to inherit, yes, but also yours to create. And the world will watch as you do. Asterisk, that speech became a rallying cry. Young people who once dreamed only of leaving began to see themselves as stewards of their homeland. In surveys conducted that year, the number of Burkinabé youth saying they planned to emigrate dropped by more than 40%. Asterisk, one young man, a programmer named Abdoulaye, put it simply, asterisk, we used to see Burkina Faso as a cage. Now we see it as a canvas. Asterisk, by the end of 2025, the youth renaissance had become one of the proudest achievements of Traoré's government. Schools were filled, streets buzzed with new businesses, cultural festivals brimmed with young talent, and most importantly, the hope in young eyes burned brighter than ever before. Asterisk, in a country once written off as a land of despair, the children of the revolution were proving to the world and to themselves that the future truly belongs to those who dare to believe in it. Asterisk. From the shining classrooms to the crowded markets, from the soccer fields to the innovation labs, the youth renaissance of Burkina Faso stands as yet another chapter in its extraordinary story, a testament to the power of hope, vision, and the boundless potential of its people. As the saying goes now in the capital, we are young, we are Burkinabé, and we are unstoppable. Asterisk. And so, the youth rise, lifting their nation with them, one dream, one innovation, and one step at a time. Asterisk in 2025, as Burkina Faso dazzled with its thriving youth, reclaimed gold, lush green walls, and shining cities, another quieter, yet deeply powerful revolution took root, not of politics or wealth, but of unity. This is the story of the Great Reconciliation. For decades, Burkina Faso's history had been scarred by deep divisions, ethnic rivalries, religious tensions, class inequalities, and decades of coups and countercoups left wounds that seemed too deep to heal. Entire communities had been displaced by terrorism in the north and east. Families were torn apart, and distrust festered among tribes, between civilians and soldiers, and even between neighbors. When Ibrahim Traoré rose to power, he knew his vision of sovereignty and progress would mean nothing if his people remained fractured. As he famously declared in his 2023 speech to displaced families, "We cannot rebuild our house if we still fight inside it. We must choose to be one family again or risk losing everything we hope to gain." In 2024, his government launched the Great Reconciliation Initiative, a nationwide process of dialogue, truth-telling, forgiveness, and justice. Drawing inspiration from traditional African conflict resolution customs, as well as international models like South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the initiative set out to heal the nation's wounds. At the heart of this process were the palaver trees. All across the country, in every town and village, specially chosen gathering spots were designated where citizens could come together to speak their truths, confront their pain, and seek understanding. Around these trees, many centuries old, victims and perpetrators, soldiers and civilians, Muslims and Christians, Fulani and Masi, sat side by side. At first, the sessions were tense. Tears and accusations flowed freely. Women spoke of husbands lost to militias, elders recounted burned villages, and young men confessed to taking up arms out of desperation or fear. But little by little, stories became bridges rather than weapons. A tribal elder from Kaya said after one session, "We discovered that the man who burned my house also lost his son in the fighting. I saw he was just as broken as me. And for the first time, we wept together." To support this effort, the government established the National Healing Council, which worked to ensure reparations for victims, resettlement of displaced families, and rehabilitation programs for former fighters. Communities were rebuilt, and new schools and clinics rose where only ruins had stood. In the capital, a monument called the Circle of Unity was unveiled, a massive stone ring inscribed with the names of every ethnic group and religious faith. In Burkina Faso, symbolizing their interconnected destiny. On the day of its inauguration, representatives of all communities walked hand in hand through the streets, chanting, "One people, one land, one future." The reconciliation extended even beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Traoré invited refugees who had fled to neighboring countries to return home, offering them safety and dignity. He reached out to neighboring nations to resolve border disputes, advocating for regional cooperation rather than rivalry. By the end of 2025, the results were remarkable. Intercommunal violence dropped to its lowest level in decades. Militia recruitment plummeted as young men returned to their villages to farm or study. And for the first time in years, Christmas and Eid were celebrated side by side in the same neighborhoods, as they once had been. Perhaps the most moving moment of all came on Unity Day 2025, when a choir of children from every region, faith, and tribe sang the new national hymn in front of thousands in Ibrahim Traoré City. We are many voices, but one heart. We are many rivers, but one sea. We are Burkina Faso, one family, one dream. An old proverb was heard often that year. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Asterisk, the Great Reconciliation was proof that no amount of wealth or development could replace the priceless gift of peace among one's own people. Asterisk, and so, in 2025, as the world watched Burkina Faso's astonishing rise, its greatest triumph was not gold, nor skyscrapers, nor green fields, but the simple, profound sight of a divided people learning to call each other brother, sister, neighbor, again. Asterisk, from the palavritries of the villages to the circle of unity in the capital. The Great Reconciliation became yet another chapter in the nation's extraordinary rebirth, a living testament to the truth that no dream can stand tall if the people are still divided at its roots. Asterisk, as a young woman said while planting a tree at a reconciliation ceremony. Asterisk, we cannot change the past, but together we can grow a future. Asterisk, and so, Burkina Faso grows, rooted now not just in hope, but in healing. Asterisk, in 2025, while the world was still marveling at Burkina Faso's healing, its green resurgence, empowered youth, gold sovereignty, and gleaming new capital, another story emerged, one that extended far beyond its borders. Asterisk, this is the story of Burkina Faso, the voice of Africa. Asterisk, for decades, Burkina Faso was seen internationally as a small, fragile, and dependent nation. Its leaders were expected to remain quiet, to follow instructions from powerful nations and international institutions, and to play no real role in global affairs, but that changed under Ibrahim Traoré. From his earliest months in office, Traoré made it clear that Burkina Faso would no longer be silent. In fiery speeches at regional summits, in the African Union, and even at the United Nations, he spoke bluntly about the exploitation of African resources, the hypocrisy of international aid that came with strings attached, and the failure of global institutions to protect African sovereignty. Asterisk, his words resonated not just at home, but across the continent. He spoke the frustrations of millions of Africans who had long felt voiceless on the world stage. Asterisk, in 2024, Traoré proposed the creation of an alliance of sovereign African nations, a bloc of like-minded countries, determined to negotiate trade, security, and climate policies on their own terms, free from Western dictates. By mid-2025, the alliance was formally launched in Ouagadougou, with member states including Mali, Niger, Guinea, and others. Asterisk, at its first summit, hosted in Ibrahim Traoré City, African leaders agreed to form a shared development bank, invest collectively in renewable energy, and coordinate security efforts against terrorism and organized crime. The summit ended with a declaration that electrified social media across Africa. Asterisk, no more beggars, no more puppets. We are Africa, and we speak for ourselves. Asterisk, in the months that followed, Burkina Faso's diplomats became active across the globe, building new alliances with nations in Latin America, Asia, and the Middle East. The country signed landmark trade agreements with Brazil and Indonesia, attracted investment from India and Turkey, and opened embassies in previously unrepresented countries. Asterisk, at the United Nations General Assembly in late 2025, Traoré delivered a speech that became an instant classic, a passionate, defiant call for reforming the international system to reflect the dignity and equality of all nations. In it, he reminded the world, asterisk, we may be small in territory, but our people's spirit is vast. We may have been silent, but our silence is over. Africa will no longer be spoken for. We will speak for ourselves, and the world will listen. Asterisk, that year, Burkina Faso was elected to a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, the first time in its history. Its diplomats used the position to advocate for ceasefires in conflict zones, fairer global trade rules, and more funding for climate adaptation in Africa. Young Africans across the continent began posting Traoré's quotes on social media, calling him the voice of Africa. In Nairobi, a university student said on camera, "When Traoré speaks at the UN, it feels like he's speaking for all of us. Finally, someone saying what we've all been thinking." Even critics admitted that, whether they agreed with his views or not, Burkina Faso had become impossible to ignore. News outlets around the world began running headlines like, "The unexpected leader, how Burkina Faso became Africa's moral compass," and "From margins to center, Traoré's vision for a stronger Africa." At home, Burkina felt proud and energized by their country's new prominence. Ordinary citizens began seeing their passports as symbols of pride rather than embarrassment. School children recited his UN speech in classrooms, and murals appeared in Ibrahim Traoré City depicting Africa as a lion, awake and roaring, with Burkina Faso at its heart. The culmination of this growing influence came in December 2025, when Ouagadougou hosted the first Pan-African Peoples Forum, gathering not just leaders but activists, artists, and entrepreneurs from across the continent to shape Africa's future together. On the final day, standing before a massive crowd of thousands waving the flags of dozens of African nations, Traoré closed his address with words that echoed through the city.